Now, this story leads President Cyril Ramaphosa has called on fellow ANC members to urgently implement decisions taken at the party's 5th National General Council to ensure transformation to the country's current state. Speaking during the closing of the NGC gathering in Boksburg in Johannesburg, Ramaphosa says the party must undergo a step change going forward. He went further to reaffirm that the party is embarking on a journey of renewal and rebuilding its structures.
Came here to engage with one another and to ensure that the views that had been expressed by members in your branches were uplifted to this level. Throughout the discussions and debates, there was an emphasis on the urgency of implementing our policies and decisions. We can summarize the central message of this NGC as disciplined implementation is the #1 priority that the ANC must focus on. We agreed that we must rid our movement and indeed our government of this disease of not implementing decisions that have been taken. And there must therefore be a step change from now going forward. We must inculcate in our culture of work the ability to take decisions and immediately work on a time frame of when those decisions will be implemented as a matter of must. That is what we should do.
To talk more about this, we're joined by political analyst Professor Dirk Kotze virtually. Professor, very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to the late edition.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
Now, we just heard Ramaphosa's call for urgent implementation of the NGC's decision, signalling panic, not confidence. And the ANC is probably reacting to eroding voter support, not necessarily charting a proactive strategic reset, as President Ramaphosa has framed the NGC discussion as a call for transformation and renewal. Do you see this, Professor, as a credible strategy to reverse the ANC's declining voter support, or as a desperation move to stave off a deeper organizational collapse?
Well, I think the tone of President Ramaphosa's concluding speech was very much more positive than the one on the first day, his presidential address. I think it appeared much more confident. He also there was much more of a response from the delegate side. In the beginning, in the first day, it was dead quiet. Tonight, it was much more participatory in their approach. So I think there's more of a tone of optimism, much more than on the first day. And I think what President Ramaphosa also did with this speech is that he really dictated the narrative in order to support his agenda. If there was any suggestions that there's serious dissent within the ANC, or there's talk about getting rid of him as president, that certainly didn't emerge through these days, and especially tonight, where he was very buoyant and very confident in what he was saying. So I think, though in the beginning, he very much conceded the problems of the ANC, the decline in support, the problems at local government level specifically. Tonight, he spoke very little about it, and he more presented what was a confirmation by the National General Council of his policy agenda to a large extent. And I think this is the way in which he wants maybe to lead it forward now, is to say, well, we can't dwell too much on the problems that's all over the place, and rather present a more positive, optimistic agenda. And I think this is what he really presented tonight. He emerged very much stronger as a president than when he entered into this event, the National General Council.
Well, Prof, presenting an optimistic agenda, as you've put it, is one issue, but there's a difference between fixing structures such as commissions and plans and redefining strategy in terms of socio-economic transformation and electoral relevance. Let's face it, Prof, if Renewal fails to acknowledge policy disconnects with the voters' lived experiences and realities such as service delivery, unemployment, inequality, and so on, then rhetoric alone will not reverse decline. So just how credible then is the ANC's renewal narrative if it fails to offer fresh solutions on these issues?
Well, first of all, this was not a policy conference. It was about looking at the existing policies. So it's within the ANC's design that what this happened. I cannot speak on behalf of the ANC, whether this is going to solve their problems or not. What we are seeing here, it's all going to depend now, are they going to meet at the level of their branches? What will be the popular response to this? Is this going to be accepted as a different approach? Is it going to, in a sense, present something new to them? At this stage, we don't know. What we have is what we've heard, what is the decisions of the National General Council and the attitude or the approach that they have followed. The real test is coming after this. To what extent is it going to be accepted by their own members, first of all, as well as people who have been supporters of them in the past and may think that they are not satisfied with the ANC anymore. It is, what you are saying is very true. It's not a new approach that they have presented here. It's not new policies, but this is not a policy-making conference. So that is I would say the bind in which they are is that they have a mandate which they couldn't change at this conference. And therefore they had to, in a sense, amend or to rephrase, reposition what they have. But I think this is going to be one of the main challenges of the ANC is after this, and with the view of or the understanding of the national leadership that their positions are not threatened, to what extent will they be able to bring more initiative, more energy, and maybe a new way of doing things and direction to this? What has been absent in this discussion and this presentation by the President is, for example, the problems that we see that's being presented on a daily basis to the Matlanga Commission.
Right.
The problems about corruption, about unethical conduct. He didn't refer to that at all. And I think this is some of the aspects that the public in general would like to hear, what is indeed the ANC's position on that and to what extent they will deal with it. But they have been silent on that.
Yeah, sure. Point taken. And Ramaphosa's reaffirmation of unity and push for implementation masks an underlying leadership legitimacy challenge, not only from within ANC ranks, but also from its partners in the alliance. Then this raises the question of whether the NGC is strengthening leadership or merely papering over the cracks, so to speak, whether the lack of visible leadership contestation with figures like Fikile Mbalula dismissing leadership rumors, whether this reflects genuine unity or suppressing internal conflict. Is it unusual, Prof, for the NGC to be focused only on leadership or succession instead of what it is known for?
Well, first of all, this is the first NGC in 10 years. So we are a bit unused to the notion of NGCs for quite some time. It comes after quite a long break after 2015. So it could have been redesigned or reconfigured as a type of a forum where there can be more assertive decisions being taken. But we've seen it from even before the start of the NGC that the expectations were lower to say it's not about policy making, it's not an elective conference, it's not about leaders and their positions and their futures. It's basically a review conference. So nothing really new can come out of it. It's more about looking back and assessing what has been done up to now. I don't think this is really what they have done. I think they have rather looked at in strengthening their own positions, their policy positions, whether it's about healthcare or whether it's about the land policy or whether it's about especially the macroeconomic politics of the country. And with that, they are, I think in the end, it was very much meant in order to try to unify what might appear as the different positions and the different strands within the ANC into one position.
All right,
and
Professor.
One doesn't know about what the internal views are, but to the external world, that has been presented like that.
All right, Professor, lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. Professor Dirk Kotze sharing his impressions of the now concluded ANC National General Council on the back of President Cyril Ramaphosa calling on fellow ANC members to urgently implement the decisions taken at the party's 5th NGC.